With as much time as we spend working, our co-workers can start to feel like family. But everyone's got that family member that they just can't stand. And these famous actors are no exception. Now let's hurry up and get this video going. Lea Michele has dinner plans. After the success of 2000's Best Picture-winning, crowd-pleasing Gladiator, it was clear that Russell Crowe was an A-list star. But he could have told you that before the movie was even made. While reading an early Gladiator script, Crowe felt that one line in particular was pretentious and unnatural. But he also said he could pull it off because he was the, quote, greatest actor in the world.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Aside from being able to deliver lackluster lines, being the greatest actor apparently allows a guy to treat his co-workers like garbage. At one point during filming, Crowe allegedly threatened to kill noted producer and Holocaust survivor Franco with his bare hands, and he claimed co-star Oliver Reed was an unruly, cruel drunk. Crowe also took a dislike to Joaquin Phoenix. To be fair, Phoenix had his own issues during production. Phoenix was unsure about playing the famously repugnant Commodus in Gladiator, at one point refusing to film his scenes despite already being in costume. And if you think that makes him belong on this list, well, stay tuned. Crowe allegedly called Phoenix's behavior unprofessional, and he'd know a thing or two about that. After filming Taylor Hackford's Proof of Life, Crowe and his co-star Meg Ryan were outed as having an affair. To avoid press scrutiny, Ryan and Crowe refused to do many press events for the film, a decision that Hackford ultimately blamed for the film's commercial failure. Russell Crowe may be arrogant, but he also may have been onto something when talking about Joaquin Phoenix. In addition to his threats to leave during the filming of Gladiator, Phoenix threatened to quit another Crowe and Ridley Scott collaboration. While working on Napoleon, Phoenix threatened to quit again, this time because he refused to shoot the film without rewrites. Even when he's on set and ready to act, Phoenix is hesitant to comply with many normal parts of the filmmaking process. On the set of Joker, Phoenix was such a nightmare for the film's makeup team that the lead artist in charge of continuity actually quit. Phoenix would constantly leave the makeup chair and even stay away from scenes between takes without telling anyone. But at least he was consistent. Even before production began, he was annoying Robert De Niro for refusing to participate in a table read of the script. Phoenix has since apologized for his behavior while filming Joker, but his reputation for being difficult to work with is getting harder and harder to ignore. After Emmy Rossum decided 9 seasons of playing Fiona on Shameless was enough, she took to Facebook to write a highly positive message about her experience on the show. That's all well and good for Rossum, but other people on set didn't have the same experience. When Emma Kenny, who played Fiona's younger sister Debbie on Shameless, was interviewed on the Call Her Daddy podcast, she bluntly addressed what it was like to work with Rossum. And it wasn't a glowing review. Recalling her experience, Kenny said, "I'd go to set some days and I'd be very anxious having a scene with her because if she had a bad day, she made it a bad day for everybody." Rossum's reputation for being difficult has also been discussed over on Reddit, with one user who claimed to work on the same Warner Brothers lot as Shameless alleging, "I get that we all have bad days, but every day was a bad day for her, to the point where hearing her scream every day became a running gag between me and my co-workers."
Of course, this is all about you.
Yes, it's about me, okay? Because it's never about me, and I'm finally making it about me.
Fans of Criminal Minds will recognize Agent Aaron Hotchner as an even-handed leader. He's known for his ability to remain calm even in the most tense situations a network crime drama can come up with. Hotchner's real-life counterpart, however, has been known to be anything but. In 2010, Thomas Gibson got into a heated argument with the show's assistant director, Ian Wolfe, during which he allegedly shoved the crew member, which understandably unsettled the cast and crew. In 2016, Gibson apparently decided that he hadn't rattled the crew enough, so he got into an argument with writer and producer Virgil Williams on set. The disagreement allegedly escalated to the point where Gibson kicked Williams in the shin.
"You kick like a 9-year-old girl."
Fellow cast member Shamar Moore, who's allegedly no stranger to feuds with Gibson, indicated he was not surprised by his former workmate's actions. Gibson ended up fired from the show. Reportedly, the fight with Williams was Gibson's third strike, following his previous altercation and a 2013 DUI that led to a suspension of his driver's license. Observant Fast and Furious fans may have picked up on the subtle messaging throughout the franchise that Dominic Toretto and his crew have a special bond.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Real-life Vin Diesel can probably just stop after the first part of that line, at least according to some people. After Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson joined the Fast and Furious universe in Fast 5, rumors of their on-set disagreements made it clear that neither of them was smelling what the other was cooking. The family feud continued through the filming and release of the 8th film, The Face of the Furious, with an insider telling Entertainment Tonight, "There were several times Vin was late to set and it really started Dwayne and other cast and crew off. These rumors trailed what was apparently an extended feud between Diesel and Johnson, largely conducted through the super action-packed medium of passive-aggressive social media posts. But while those two seemed to eventually bury the hatchet, Diesel allegedly drove director Justin Lin so crazy with his creative demands that Lin quit the movie. Instead of just leaving it as a usual creative differences excuse, the director made his feelings pretty clear by saying, quote, "This movie is not worth my mental health." No word on whether he's invited to the next family barbecue. It all started with a button when James Franco won a 2018 Golden Globe for his portrayal of Tommy Wiseau in Disaster Artist. Multiple actresses who had worked with him commented on social media about the hypocrisy of him wearing a Me Too button after his alleged past of creepy behavior. In one of what turned out to be many examples, actress Sarah Tither Kaplan, who had been a student at Franco's now-defunct acting school, tweeted, "Remember a few weeks ago when you told me the full nudity you had me do in 2 of your movies for $100 a day wasn't exploitative because I signed a contract to do it?" Disappointingly, Franco's behavior wasn't exactly a secret before he was called out. Earlier that year, Page Six reported that actress Charlene Yi attempted to break her contract for The Disaster Artist so that she wouldn't have to work with Franco. When Seth Rogen and the film's other producers tried to convince her to stay, she cried and told them, quote, "I didn't feel safe working with a sexual predator." His alleged problematic behavior went back to some of his earliest roles. Busy Phillips, Franco's old co-star from Freaks and Geeks, referred to Franco as a bully in her 2018 memoir, and she meant that in every sense of the word. In the book, she alleges that he knocked her to the ground during one scene that required their characters to have a verbal altercation. Emma Roberts once claimed that it's hard being a Nepo baby, and it seems that it can be hard to work with one too. There have long been rumors and whispers that have circulated about Roberts' behavior on set, but her American Horror Story 1984 co-star Angelica Ross has what's easily one of the worst stories. In an Instagram live video, Ross, who is transgender, detailed an incident involving her, Roberts, and the episode's director, John J. Gray. Roberts jokingly complained to Gray that Ross was being mean to her, to which Gray responded, quote, "Okay, ladies."
She then looks at me and she goes, "Don't you mean lady?"
As Ross noted on her Instagram live, the comment was obviously transphobic, but she added that Roberts played mind games with everyone on set. Ross later accepted an apology from Roberts, but to many, the damage was done. Jared Leto can be called many things: method actor, musician, and if his behavior on the set of the first Suicide Squad is anything to go by, he's also a dude who needs to take it down a notch. Leto took his role as an especially nihilistic version of the Joker so seriously that, in the name of getting into character, he reportedly played unwelcome jokes on the film's other actors and sent them fairly disgusting gifts. As Viola Davis recalled to Vanity Fair, he had a tech man who would come into the rehearsal room, and the henchman came in with a dead pig and plopped it on the table, and then he walked out. And that was our introduction into Jared Leto. He also sent along what appeared to be used condoms and adult toys to cast members because, as he told E! News, the Joker is somebody who doesn't really respect things like personal space or boundaries. So for at least a brief period, neither did Jared Leto. Michael Pitt's behavior was so bad that other crew members plotted to kill him, or at least kill off his character. Close enough. Multiple crew members alleged that on the set of Boardwalk Empire, Pitt frequently showed up late to work, often without his lines memorized. He repeatedly tried to change his lines, vocally expressed his satisfaction with his character's direction, and even got into a fistfight with a co-star. Another crew member claimed that he'd worked with Pitt on another production, but the actor similarly would show up hours late and question the director's vision and authority. Rumors are one thing, but according to Deadline, United Talent Agency released Pitt from its client roles in 2011 because he's, quote, really difficult on set and otherwise. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. And where there's Michael Pitt, there's probably people complaining about how late he is. Lea Michele might be a diva, but at least she knows it. As she told Allure in 2011, "I came from the theater world, where the word diva was awesome." Okay, what isn't awesome is her alleged behavior on the set of Glee. According to Us Weekly, there was an occasion when some technical problems delayed shooting. Most actors would just roll with this, waiting around is part of the job. On this occasion, Michelle reportedly snapped her fingers and shouted, "Let's go, I have plans." She also apparently developed a nasty feud with her Glee co-star, Naya Rivera. In her 2016 memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, Rivera claims that Michelle, quote, didn't like sharing the spotlight and that she didn't respond well to criticism. By the filming of the 6th season of the show in 2014, Michelle would no longer speak to Rivera. Say what you will about Charlie Sheen, because whatever you say about him is probably true. In 2011, Sheen partook in one of Hollywood's most famous benders when he partied for several days straight in Las Vegas with an adult film actress, then entered rehab, which, cool, you do you, Charlie. The problem was that his partying shut down production on 2.5 Men. After doubling down by lashing out at Chuck Lorre, the show's creator, CBS ultimately fired Sheen. This was huge news in the entertainment world at the time, wrecking a successful show at the height of its popularity. Despite all of that, Sheen landed another starring role on FX's Anger Management alongside Selma Blair. But according to TMZ, when Blair told the show's producers that Sheen had a weak work ethic and a lack of punctuality, he told producers that he wouldn't show up to shoot if she wasn't dismissed. Forced to choose, the brass chose the actor with the worst behavior and the most tiger blood.
I'm by winning. I win here and I win there. Now what?
Have you ever disliked a coworker so much that you considered quitting your job? Freddie Prinze Jr. sure did. In 2014, Prince talked to ABC News about working with Kiefer Sutherland on 24, saying that he, quote, hated every moment of his time on that series, so much so that he considered quitting acting altogether. Apparently worried that might come off as too subtle, he went on to say, Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the world. That's not me talking trash. I'd say it to his face. I think everyone that's worked with him has said that. Shohreh Aghdashloo, who had a role on 24 in 2005, wasn't a Sutherland fan either. She told Fox News, I'm afraid working with him proved to be hard. That young man was pretty angry. She also speculated that her disagreements on the 24 set led to her character's death, which was reportedly not initially part of the plan for the show.
There's no doubting that Alec Baldwin is an outspoken man. Whether he's being accused of fighting paparazzi, shouting homophobic slurs, or calling his own daughter names in a leaked voicemail, his private life has a way of being shoved into the limelight on a regular basis. As a number of his co-stars have said, that's just who he is. Shia LaBeouf, who's had no shortage of conflicts all his own, more on that in a minute, famously left the Broadway show Orphans in 2013 because the two actors had clashed so often at rehearsals. And on 30 Rock, his co-star Cheyenne Jackson had one thing to say about Baldwin. What I learned from him was really good comedic timing and don't get in his light. For a guy who got his start playing the adorable lead in Disney's Even Stevens, Shia LaBeouf sure has shed any presumption of innocence in the years since. LaBeouf made his way to the big screen in a big way shortly after the show ended, with major blockbusters like Constantine, I, Robot, and, of course, the Transformers franchise, which kicked his career straight into the stratosphere. After he reached such great heights, though, things changed very quickly, and bizarrely. Shia started taking more avant-garde roles and staged a bunch of strange publicity stunts, like wearing a paper bag that said, I am not famous anymore, and filming himself watching all of his own movies in a row. Clearly, he wanted the world to take him seriously, but his penchant for weird antics and over-the-top method acting has begun to rub people the wrong way. He's even gotten into fistfights with at least two of his co-stars, with Tom Hardy on the set of 2012's Lawless, and again after punching Brad Pitt on 2014's war epic Fury. In both cases, his co-stars let it slide where the public was concerned.
Because Shia's got this weird little left uppercut you gotta stay away from. You gotta watch that one.
But the production on Lawless also saw LaBeouf guzzling actual bottles of moonshine to get into character and carving his name into Mia Wasikowska's dressing room door. LaBeouf might not want to be famous anymore, but he's quickly becoming infamous.
What does that mean, infamous?
Oh, Dusty. Infamous is when you're more than famous.
Not quite. But that reminds us. His character history might read like a who's who in likable goofs, but Chevy Chase has something of a reputation as one of the meanest men in showbiz. That rep has followed him all the way from his rock star beginnings on Saturday Night Live in the 70s up to his recent recurring gig on Community. Highlights from his worst moments include getting into a fistfight with Bill Murray and suggesting that former SNL co-star Terry Sweeney, who was openly gay, do a weekly segment where he would get weighed to see if he had contracted AIDS yet.
Oh, sorry. Hi, fellas.
It certainly seems like Chevy Chase has a penchant for rubbing people the wrong way. He even came clean about it in 2012 when he said, "Nobody prepares you for what happens when you get famous, and I didn't handle it well." That may be the understatement of the decade. He might not quite be a household name, but you probably know his work from his unforgettable role in 1987's The Princess Bride.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
More recently, you may have seen him in CBS's Criminal Minds and the Golden Globe-winning Showtime series Homeland. With so much success in film and television, people probably suspect that Mandy Patinkin is a pretty nice guy. But by his own admission, he can be extremely difficult to work with. Before nearly destroying his television career in 2007 by suddenly walking away from Criminal Minds and never coming back, Patinkin was already behaving like a stuck-up starlet. In a 2013 interview with the New York Times, he came clean with his sordid past on the set. Talking about the hospital drama Chicago Hope, Patinkin said, "I never let directors talk to me because I was so spoiled. I was saying, don't talk to me, I don't want your opinion. I behaved abominably." Hey, at least he can admit it. It's almost a cliche now that comedians often have darker sides. And Mike Myers isn't immune to the pressures of being a full-time funny man. Between Wayne's World, Austin Powers, and The Love Guru, Myers' whole brand is over-the-top, outrageously colorful characters, most of whom he's meticulously crafted himself.
Throw me a frickin' bone here!
He's been called a perfectionist on his good days, and on his worst he's been dubbed emotionally needy and difficult. That characterization comes directly from Penelope Spheeris, who directed Mike Myers in 1992's Wayne's World. Spheeris also told the story of how Mike Myers stormed off the set once because the caterers didn't provide margarine for his bagel.
Kiss your mother with that mouth?
It's easy enough for the internet to hate Gwyneth Paltrow, who's managed to outrage non-millionaire parents everywhere with her lifestyle blog Goop, and has an unfortunate tendency to come across as aloof and entitled. As we hear all so often, Paltrow is just one of those everyday moms, the kind who allegedly refuses to touch other people's shower water at her gym and won't use toilet paper if the roll is already unwrapped. So yeah, her apparently uptight mannerisms have earned her a starring role as a punching bag for celebrity gossip. But she's also difficult to work with for other A-listers too. According to reports from the set of 2010's Iron Man 2, Paltrow made it a point to avoid her co-star Scarlett Johansson during the whole production, and then got angry when she was upstaged by Johansson during the promotional work for the film. Of course, one of her press representatives denied those claims, so it's possible that the story was simply another piece of trumped-up gossip. But when it comes to Madame Goop, who can tell? Few people have become the target of tabloid fodder as completely as Katherine Heigl. In 2008, she publicly bashed her comedy breakout film Knocked Up as sexist, and she also famously declined to be considered for the Emmys because she thought the Grey's Anatomy writers didn't give her enough juicy dramatic material to deserve a nomination. The series creator Shonda Rhimes said afterward of the situation,
"Yeah, on some level it sung, and on some level I was not surprised."
You weren't?
No.
Okay.
When people say who they are, believe them.
Rhimes reportedly declined an offer for Heigl to return to the show after her character's departure. Katherine Heigl wasn't the only real-life pill on the set of Grey's either. Patrick Dempsey, better known as McDreamy, was also apparently suspended once for acting like a diva on set and was killed off on the show not long after that. Dempsey had reportedly clashed with Shonda Rhimes. While he later denied that there was anything but goodwill between him and the cast, that story has since been hard to shake. Desperate Housewives was as dramatic behind the scenes as it was for at-home audiences. The hot ABC show had trouble from the start, and actress Teri Hatcher, who played Susan, apparently took the brunt of the criticism from her castmates, who felt she acted like a diva. Hatcher's co-star Nicolette Sheridan went so far as to call her the meanest woman in the world. After the final episode of Desperate Housewives, Hatcher reportedly stated, "I will never disclose the true and complicated journey of us all. It's probably just as well. Some questions are probably best left unanswered." This action star was basically born to raise hell, and while he's no longer headlining big-budget features, Steven Seagal is still churning out low-budget films left and right, even though he's developed a reputation for not being the best dude around. Steven Seagal has been hit with countless allegations of sexual assault, among other charges, over the years, including one by Under Siege 2 auditioner Jenny McCarthy, who said in an interview that Seagal told her to take off her dress during a private audition, despite the absence of nudity in the film. Yuck. He's also been known to flex some of his silver-screened might on his male co-stars when the cameras weren't rolling. John Leguizamo reportedly claimed that Seagal elbowed him up against a wall with maximum conviction on the set of 1996's Executive Decision, simply because Leguizamo laughed at something Seagal said, thinking it was a joke, when it wasn't.
And he came up and he taekwondo'd my ass against the brick wall.
Over the years, several of William Shatner's former castmates have commented on the Star Trek star's allegedly difficult attitude. He's reportedly upset plenty of co-stars and even caused some feuds along the way. Shatner and fellow Trek vet Leonard Nimoy clashed over scripts and fan mail, and Shatner is said to be excessively sensitive to stories that favored Nimoy. Later in life, the pair patched up their differences, but that belated reconciliation may be a rare exception for Shatner. Reportedly, Shatner and Nichelle Nichols, with whom he shared TV's first interracial kiss, did not get along well at all, and she nearly left the show until Dr. Martin Luther King convinced Nichols of the importance of her role. Shatner later made waves when he refused to appear on stage with James Doohan at a convention in 2004. Doohan's farewell appearance following his Alzheimer's diagnosis. There's also the long-running feud between George Takei and Shatner, who've been at odds, often publicly, for several decades.
There's such a sickness there. It's so patently obvious that there is a psychosis there.
Well, I think his stability is quite questionable.
Really?
Despite being a household name, Wesley Snipes has developed a bad reputation in Hollywood for his on-set antics, most notoriously during the production of 2004's Blade Trinity. According to co-star Patton Oswalt, Snipes insisted on being called Blade and would rarely leave his trailer.
You'd walk by his trailer and this wall of pot stench would just like, whoa, and kind of push you to the side.
Oswalt also recounted a much more serious incident in which Snipes tried to strangle the director, David Goyer, after which Goyer proposed that Snipes quit and his stand-in finished the film. This allegedly freaked Snipes out so much that he stopped talking to Goyer altogether.
After a while, he resorted to just he would communicate with Post-its that he would give to the director, and each one he would sign Blade.
After filming for Blade Trinity ended, Snipes sued Goyer and New Line Cinema, claiming they withheld part of his salary and didn't allow him to be part of the creative process. He was also allegedly upset because some of his screen time had been reduced in favor of Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds. The suit was later settled out of court. After racking up a string of early hits as a Disney starlet, Lindsay Lohan set about compiling a record of partying hard and leaving frustrated directors and co-stars in her wake. On the set of 2007's Georgia Rule, Lohan caused so many problems with her tardiness and no-shows, reportedly costing the production $500,000 a day, that producer James Robinson sent her an ultimatum, saying, quote, "I'm not going to put up with it." In 2012, a source from the set of Glee complained that the actress had been a total nightmare, again showing up several hours late to shoot. It seems that tardiness is a bad habit of Lohan's. A year later, Anger Management co-star Charlie Sheen told Jay Leno that Lohan had been late to the set by several hours, and had later borrowed a couple of bracelets from the production, which the show later deducted from her paycheck. The same year, New York Times Magazine published "Here is what happens when you cast Lindsay Lohan in your movie," a piece chronicling some of Lohan's most unbelievable misadventures on the set of Paul Schrader's The Canyons. Among her offenses, not showing up to set. Big surprise. Though he's apparently become more easygoing in recent years, it's been a hard battle to repair the damage Ed Norton caused to his reputation in the past. That reputation? A supposedly impossible perfectionist who siphons creative control for himself. While Norton is infamous for insisting the producers give him say over the final cut of the 1998 drama American History X, he surged back into the headlines while promoting 2008's The Incredible Hulk. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is generally action-packed, explosive, and witty. But when Edward Norton signed on to play Bruce Banner, he wanted a longer, more nuanced film with a deeper dive into Banner's backstory. Universal put its foot down, and the creative differences spiraled out of control. Norton barely even promoted the film, and took off for a humanitarian trip to Africa after the premiere, arguably harming the flick's box office bottom line. So in other words, you wouldn't like Norton when he's angry.
As Kendall Roy on HBO's Succession, Jeremy Strong stars in one of the biggest shows on television. But as his career has been on a massive upswing, his reputation amongst his fellow actors has taken a bit of a hit. Though he rejects the label himself, Strong is frequently described as a method actor. Phenomenal results can be achieved by remaining in character in this fashion. But the tactics of method actors often rub crew members and castmates the wrong way. One notorious profile on Strong in The New Yorker struck a particularly powerful blow to his public reputation. The profile revealed that while shooting Succession, he was prone to preparing rehearsed speeches and trying to pass them off as improvisation, as well as getting inebriated on set when his character fell off the wagon. His castmates have described his method acting approach as occasionally frustrating or intrusive, but none have been more vocally opposed to his habits than Brian Cox, who plays Strong's on-screen father, Logan Roy. During an interview with Town & Country, Cox said that he thinks Strong is a fantastic actor, but that he finds his method acting style to be annoying. Succession is far from the only production where Strong's method acting has been an impediment for others. On the trial of the Chicago 7, he frequently ruined takes by pulling pranks while in character as hippie Jerry Rubin. And for one scene, he requested to be blasted with real tear gas, even though that would have meant putting hundreds of extras and crew members through the same physical torment. Gérard Depardieu is one of the most celebrated actors in the history of French cinema. Having nearly 250 credits in his filmography over the course of 5 decades, Depardieu has played many iconic and acclaimed roles. With such superstardom inflating his ego, he has been known to act as if the rules didn't apply to him. Depardieu committed petty crime in his youth, and he's had plenty of brushes with the law after becoming a star as well.
Did you steal?
Steal?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
His scandals ran the gamut from physical assault and frequent fighting to white-collar crimes connected to his numerous businesses, to a weird incident in which he urinated on a plane.
You were flying to Ireland?
Yes, I pee on the plane, yes.
During the #MeToo movement, Depardieu was accused of sexual assault by more than a dozen women, most of whom were actors or crew members who worked with him. As reported by the Associated Press, 13 accusers came out against him, while also suggesting that his total number of victims was surely much higher since he had a reputation for frequently groping and fondling the extras on his film shoots. Depardieu has often been hailed as one of the greatest actors of his generation, but incredible performances don't justify his actions by any stretch of the imagination. Tommy Lee Jones is a 4-time Oscar nominee and 1-time winner for his role in 1994's The Fugitive. He is known less for his range and more for his reliability when it comes to playing rugged, ornery characters. The dial can shift from violent and intense, such as in films like The Hunted, to comedically slanted, as we see in Men in Black. Regardless, the same core archetype of a curmudgeon is usually present. And as it turns out, this baseline character type is close to home for Jones. In a 2006 edition of Texas Monthly, the actor was profiled in a piece titled "Tommy Lee Jones is Not Acting," which posited that he really is the rude and grumpy fellow that he routinely plays on screen. He is known to be incredibly impolite to the press and the general public, and that behavior extends to film sets. When Jim Carrey appeared on Norm Macdonald Live, he recounted his experiences working with Jones on Batman Forever.
He said he couldn't sanction my buffoonery.
Tobey Maguire is best known for starring as Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi trilogy, and he recently reprised a role in Spider-Man No Way Home. The heroic, morally upright side of the character is allegedly not one shared by Maguire personally. For many years, the actor has had a reputation for being hard to work with and extremely troublesome behind the scenes. His rude, out-of-control behavior on sets has drawn fire from his co-stars, and his public outbursts captured by paparazzi have hurt his image with the general public. Maguire is one of the only successful Hollywood stars to be so incendiary in real life that he became the villain of a woman's non-fiction autobiography and its corresponding film adaptation. The 2017 film Molly's Game tells the true story of Molly Bloom, who ran high-stakes poker games for Hollywood celebrities. In the film, Michael Cera plays an antagonist who goes by Player X. He makes it his mission to destroy Bloom's reputation and livelihood while also being as awful as possible to his fellow players at every turn. Though the character's true identity remains unnamed in the movie, Bloom names him outright as Tobey Maguire in her autobiography. Dustin Hoffman has given some of the best and most influential performances of all time. His roles in films like The Graduate and Midnight Cowboy were instrumental in ushering the new Hollywood movement, completely changing the film industry of the late 1960s and 1970s. One of his most acclaimed films was Kramer vs. Kramer, in which he plays a husband who is left in charge of his young son when his wife leaves him. Hoffman earned his first Oscar win for the role, but his methods for achieving that performance were questionable, to say the least. Hoffman was engaging in hardcore method acting for the role, and took it upon himself to force what he considered to be a stronger performance out of co-star Meryl Streep, who also won her first Oscar for the film. While indulging in frequent improvisation, Hoffman slapped Streep, smashed a real glass against the wall right beside her head without warning, and made low-blow insults about her recently deceased boyfriend, actor John Cazale.
I'm leaving you.
Honey, please. I can't hear.
Far worse than all of his nasty on-set behavior, however, are the numerous sexual assault allegations that have been made against Hoffman. As reported in Forbes, his accusers came into contact with Hoffman through film shoots and his theatrical performances on Broadway, making working with him in any capacity an unpleasant proposition. Jennifer Lopez has drawn acclaim for both her music and her acting, as well as for having led a successful career as a producer. Despite her legions of die-hard fans, Lopez's reputation is far less sterling when it comes to those who have to work with her, not just enjoy her output from a distance. She has frequently been described as difficult or outright impossible to work with professionally. Lopez has shown a tendency to lash out at and insult other celebrities when giving interviews. One of the celebrities that Lopez was most harsh towards was Cameron Diaz, in a now infamous interview with Movie Line. When the two were cast alongside each other in What to Expect When You're Expecting, there was obviously a lot of animosity on set. This was far from being an isolated incident, as there are countless stories of her making life harder for co-stars and crew members, and even members of the general public, such as a hotel maid who she reportedly had fired for asking for an autograph. Lopez has since denied that claim. Laura Flynn Boyle's big breakout role was on the one-of-a-kind television phenomenon Twin Peaks. She played Donna Hayward, the best friend of murder victim Laura Palmer. Boyle starred in both of the show's 2 seasons before it was prematurely cancelled by ABC. When the prequel movie Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me was released just 1 year after the cancellation, Boyle was no longer involved, although her character still was. The recasting of Donna Hayward with Moira Kelly raised fans' suspicions that behind-the-scenes issues had led to Boyle's removal from Twin Peaks, especially considering the fact that she was the only cast member replaced. When the 2017 revival of the series Twin Peaks: A Return finally came to fruition many years later, Boyle publicly voiced her desire to return to the series. Instead, creator David Lynch purposefully excluded her, despite pretty much everyone else returning. Her behind-the-scenes romances were considered by some to be a hindrance to the series. According to an AV Club interview with Sherilyn Fenn, she allegedly put a stop to the planned romance between the Dale Cooper and Audrey Horne characters because she was dating actor Kyle MacLachlan in real life. Boyle had a few other major roles outside of Twin Peaks, but as word spread of her being difficult to work with, her good roles dried up. These days, her acting gigs are few and far apart, and frequently take the form of trashy B-movies like Hansel and Gretel Get Baked. Casey Affleck is a younger brother of fellow actor Ben Affleck. The brothers have worked together many times over the years, but Casey Affleck's career took a bit longer to reach the heights of his brothers. Still, many film critics considered him to be the superior actor of the two, and the one who has consistently chosen more interesting projects. His performances in movies like The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford and Manchester by the Sea both drew widespread acclaim, and the latter even earned him his first Oscar win.
I'm sorry, Lee. He passed away about an hour ago.
As reported by the Daily Beast, Affleck was accused of sexual harassment by multiple women, including the cinematographer and the producer of 2010's I'm Still Here. The accusations led to a pair of lawsuits that Affleck settled out of court. On the same shoot, Affleck partially admitted to creating an unsafe work environment and that he was rarely sober throughout the production. According to The Guardian, he encouraged his cast and crew to party with him as part of the mockumentary experience. Sean Penn is a 5-time nominee and 2-time Oscar winner with many acclaimed performances and even a few films as a director under his belt. Over the years, he has developed something of a negative reputation, a fact that Penn has knowingly embraced. In his Oscar acceptance speech for his performance in 2008's Milk, Penn said, "I do know how hard I make it to appreciate me." Penn has also made it clear on other occasions that he knows he can be difficult to work with and even to simply interact with on a personal level. He has been involved in many altercations and blow-ups with the directors of his movies and does not hesitate at all to voice his opposition to their creative decisions. All of this without even getting into his tangled history of domestic abuse allegations and violent altercations in the US and abroad. And while some of them have been disputed by all parties involved, the details remain murky. Morgan Freeman once held a reputation as a kind-hearted man, an upstanding member of society, and a role model for all. Not many actors can claim to be typecast as God, and as the go-to default for narration with one of the most distinctive voices in Hollywood. But after a long and storied career with a gentle and beloved reputation, Freeman was outed as a prolific predator. According to CNN, the actor was accused by at least 8 women of sexual harassment and groping on film sets. Though the news became public during the #MeToo movement that began in 2017, his pattern of inappropriate behavior was well known by those in the industry for years beforehand. A crew member on 2013's Now You See Me revealed that the woman on the shoot or knew to expect unwelcome sexual remarks and touching whenever he was on set. They even collectively decided to wear more conservative clothing in the hopes of combating his advances. Freeman is also known to make film shoots triangle deals for the directors he works with, even in some of his most acclaimed roles. When shooting The Shawshank Redemption, Freeman allegedly refused to do additional takes or follow the script. He also forced the big final moments of the film to be scrapped and changed because he considered them, as he stated in an interview with the New York Daily News, sort of asinine, sort of cliched, sort of unnecessary. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.